had some success this year at home, and obviously we're looking to continue that tonight. And it's a hard-working group. Arizona, obviously, games are always very tight with them. So, we're going to have to match that and be ready.
Leon, how comforting is it with goaltending for both guys going into a game knowing, okay, I think our goaltenders are equal or better than the other team's goaltenders going into a game?
It's huge. I mean, those two have been, they've been amazing all season. They've been great. They kept us in games where, we probably shouldn't have been in. So, it's very comforting and very, it's nice to have them back there. They've been great for us. Yeah.
When you look at this start, every team comes in envisioning a great start, but I just wonder if it's, everyone's kind of contributing. How you would assess having 10 wins already to begin the year?
Yeah, it's finding ways to win. I think that's the most important thing. We probably weren't the better team in every game that we won, but we found ways to win. Different guys stepping up, goalies, defensemen, forwards, whatever it is. So, like I said, it's just a matter of finding ways to win hockey games.
In digging into your time on ice, your shift length is a little bit longer this year. Your average time on ice is up a little bit. How are you doing with the extra ice time and kind of how you've been managing yourself?
Yeah, it's been good. Obviously we've been getting a lot of ice time, and obviously you want to pay the coach back and producing and playing the right way and playing good hockey. So. It's been good, and hopefully it continues that way.
Is that something that you would have worked on in the off season in any way, just a different type of recovery, or otherwise?
I don't know if you can work on recovery that much, but it's just a matter of being ready to play the minutes that we've been playing, and working on that during the summer obviously is a huge part, and it's just. Try to keep that up throughout an 82-game season.
Since January 1st, you've scored more goals than anybody else in the league. From the standpoint of a goal scorer's mentality, how different are you game to game now than maybe in the first year or two of your career? Yeah,
it changed a little bit. I still like passing. I'm still looking to pass the puck, but obviously with playing with Connor, I think you have to adjust your game a little bit. He's looking for a pass more than a shot probably, but so I had to adjust a little bit, and sometimes I'm looking more for the shot now than anything else. So it's just an adjustment that you have to make throughout your career.
Yeah, it looked like there's some shuffling in the lines at practice or in morning skate this morning. Alex Chase on with you and Connor. What's that dynamic going to look like?
We've played with him a lot before. I played with him a lot last year. We had great success with him, and he's obviously a little bit of a different player than Cass, but he's a very smart player. He's positionally very, very good, and he just knows where to go in the good areas, the dangerous areas, and hopefully we can continue that chemistry from last year.
Is there anything in your two-way game that you're most proud of, or something you feel you've come a long way in that's made you more usable in that way?
I've said it all along since I've gotten to the NHL. I've always wanted to be a complete player in all three zones. Never wanted to be seen as a offensive player only. A guy that's a liability in the defensive zone. So I take big pride in that. Penalty kill, face-offs, that kind of stuff. So it's just something that. I paid a lot of attention to over the last couple of years, and slowly trying to get better at it.
Do you feel like you've earned the coach's trust in that sense? Oh, sorry, Adam. In that sense, because you were killing a 5-on-3 in a crucial stage of the game.
Yeah, obviously that's up to the coaches. I mean, that's their decision to put the guy out there that they think can get it done, and obviously it's a big honor to be that guy.
both ends and kind of what you've seen from him in the last few seasons developing that.
Yeah, he's obviously everyone talks about Leon's ability to play on the offensive side of the puck, but his checking has been incredible. You see not only 5-on-5, but he gets on the PK. You see his stick on the 5-on-3. I think we've had 2 5-on-3s where he's broken up probably 3-4 plays just with his stick up top there. So he's really developed that side of his game, and he's taken a lot of pride, and it shows. You know, the leadership that he shows on the ice when he plays that hard defensive style. It brings everyone else up in the room and everyone else up in the group that you want to check the same way that he does.
He's as good a goal scorer as there is in the game right now. If I'd have told you that about Leon 3 years ago, I mean, he was such a pass-first kind of player. What's brought that out in him, do you think?
He's just continuing to develop. He's always been a game breaker. Even in our first year, maybe it wasn't each and every night, but you could just see that it was coming. And now his ability to think the game, obviously, to see his passes that he makes, forehand, backhand, it could be in his feet. It doesn't really matter. He makes any type of play. But for his ability to not only read the passes, but to put himself in good opportunistic areas where guys find him, and he's got a shot that he can beat most goalies.
Darnell, just a quick comment on Arizona. I mean, it seemed like they've really tightened things up. They're second in goals against right now in the league. What's the challenge heading into tonight's game?
Yeah, obviously they're a notorious team with being very hard checking, very committed to their game plan, and that's come about again this year. And now they're able to score goals too. So it's good these games are always a little extra important, being a divisional game and a team that we play so often. So it's going to be a hard matchup. Obviously, they've got a lot of talent on that side, and a team that's committed to their game plan. And we're going to have to bring that same work ethic and same commitment to ours.
Now, historically, in the last 42 games, Arizona's won nearly 30 of them. What about their game gives you guys maybe a little bit more of a challenge when taking against?
Yeah, well, like I said, they're notoriously good at sticking within their structure, playing their game plan. They're a tight checking team. When they have success, it's because they don't give up much, and that's kind of where they've been at so far this year. So for us, knowing that it's going to be a tight checking game, we got to bring that same mindset to our group and outwork these guys.
What are some of the things that you noticed from a guy like Alex Chason, who is on the top line tonight? What elements he brings to the game and what he could bring to that top line?
Yeah, obviously Alex is such a great shooter. Anytime the puck's on his stick, it's within seconds it's on the net. So he's a guy that finds that quiet ice too. Has the ability to, make plays when he needs to. But I think the biggest strength to his game is he finds that little quiet ice and gets the puck on his stick, and he has a great shot and able to get off quick.
Is it too early to start talking about you got to beat the teams that are below you in the standings?
No, it's never too early. But I mean, I don't think we can look at it that way so much. You don't really look at it that way at this point of the season. At this point, each and every game, we've come in with a mindset. Each and every game is like a must-win for us. And whenever you're playing within your division, these games are a little more important because they're kind of like 4-point games, really. So it's a big challenge for us, a big test. It's a team that's been playing well so far, and we got to bring our A game tonight.
So, Dave, coaching against Arizona, first time, what were your feelings?
Second time, once an exhibition.
Oh, but that doesn't count.
Did to me.
Does a coach who's used to coach the other team, is there any advantage because you've used to coach them for so long?
Maybe if you just left, but if you look at their roster, there's not much left from when I was there. So if it was last year that I was there and then left, you maybe could say you know them, but the majority of their players were either real young players or, there's only a few of them that are left there that when I was there. So I've been away from there for 2 or 3 years now, so it's time has changed things a little bit.
Obviously, it looks like based on morning skate, changed your top couple, possibly your top 3 lines. Just a thought specifically on maybe trying to get Chase on going.
Trying to get him going a little bit, just trying to shuffle some things trying to find a spark somewhere. We've got some guys that have come in and played a little better. JJ's played a little better here lately, so he's taken a bigger bite. But we're just, you go into every game, you just kind of trying to figure how things would be most efficient for you, and you're trying to maximize each player. So we're trying a couple tweaks today. We'll see how they work.
Just maybe 1 or 2 on Leon. As you have handed him minutes this year, what have you seen, when he gets high up into those 20s? And is he a player that recovers well and that you find can handle the minutes? And is that sustainable long term if it stays at this?
He can handle them, but there's too much. So it depends how the game goes. Like when you look at overtime games, like he was 23, I think, the other night, but in overtime you got to add 2.5 minutes on that overtime too, right? So overtime games tend to get stretched. I've tried to bring them back a little bit, but those guys are competitive guys. You look down the bench and they want to play. So they give you a pretty good chance of getting things done out there. So, but it's something we're going to monitor. Leon's he's a horse. Like I think he plays better the more he plays. Now that being said, there's some times when he's played a lot where the pace of play comes down a little bit that we have to be aware of. But he's doing all right out there.
And maybe just a thought on the overall game. He's taken some pride in it, being used a little bit more defensively, some penalty kill stuff where you've relied on him heavily. What are you seeing in terms of the overall game that he gives you?
Well, if you're combining the penalty kill into it, he was a pretty good penalty killer last year too. He's a good face-off guy, so we've used him in that. I'd like to use him a little less there, but you get into critical situations where you look down the bench and you got to who's the best guy for the job, and he's sometimes the guy that gets that nod. 5-on-3, we talked about that last week. Those are lessons that I've learned along the way, that your top players can be good 5-on-3 against players, and he's embraced that role. Like he's a guy that. He's a real interesting guy to talk to about the game. He's a student of the game. He's studied players before him and how they play. He's real thoughtful on how he wants to play or wants his game to be perceived, and real thoughtful how that game can translate into helping us win.
Dave, just back to Maddie's question for another shot. When you've coached some of the other team's players and know them, at least some of them, as well as you do you watch the game like tonight any differently when I know you're trying to run your own team behind the bench, but do you watch the other team any differently when you know those players so well?
No, who's out there, and I would watch more of them on video to prepare for them. But once you get in a game, you got lots to concentrate on your team and maximizing what you guys are doing. So, there's only, I'm trying to think. There's Oliver and Goligoski on the back. A few of the young guys, Fisher, Krause, Keller. They were just real young players coming in, they're good young players. But there's only 2 or 3 of the veteran guys that I would know well.
Dave, since Arizona started 0-2, they seem like they really have found their ground, especially in the goals against column. What's allowed them to be so successful in that regard, and also what kind of challenges does that pose for your club tonight?
Yeah, they're a good, hard-working team. Their goaltending is excellent. I think they have an underrated defense. Their D move the puck very well. I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson is one of the top D in the league. He's He's a guy that plays big minutes and really an efficient player. So they're just a solid team. Rick's done a good job with that group, and they're a competitive team, real competitive team.
Is there anything that has surprised you on that team at all this season?
You know what? I watched a little bit of them the other day. That's about it. So haven't watched them that close, actually.
Dave, you mentioned their goaltending. Kemper's only allowed 3 goals once all year, and I think their team's not with the empty nets. That collective team defense, do you have to preach more of a patient game for your team, knowing that there's not going to be a lot of chances, or do you go the opposite and really try to get them behind the 8 ball early?
Yeah, I coach our team to play how we want to play. Not, you understand what the other team's doing. You understand, where they are and their strengths and weaknesses. But it's, to go in and say, okay, let's play really patient right now. Well, what if Arizona comes out and doesn't play a patient game, right? So you gear everything to your own group. You have a pretty good idea how everybody plays, and their personnel, and you look at their goaltending. This is 2 years now. Their goaltending's been strong, so you have to you build that into part of your game plan, whether it's lots of shots or traffic or whatever you want to do. Every game there's a method to the madness, but it's all geared towards our team. So you understand what they're doing, but it's geared towards us.
Sheahan, what's Sheahan's situation?
I think he would have the opportunity to play tonight, but he hasn't skated in 3 days now. So and Cody Cave played very well last game, so we left Cody in there tonight.
Well, it looks like Koskinen by the net, he was guarding this morning, might play.
Yeah.
Is this still a juggling act for you? You haven't gone more than 2 games, pretty much, without.
Not a juggling act. We have 2 good guys that we want to keep them both fresh and playing. So.
The other guy was phenomenal last game. That's why I'm asking.
Phenomenal both last games, but Kosk was phenomenal games before that too. So we need them both to play well. Like both of them need to, and I think we've balanced that pretty good. We've only had the one back-to-back, but they both know the situation. Like we want them to be prepared and have practiced enough to feel at the top of their game and fresh enough to play. So that's we're going to stay with that as we go forward here.
Dave, early in the first 7 games, your power play was rolling, scoring a lot, but it's also shooting a lot. Last 8, your shot volume's gone down quite a bit. Is that a simple thing to just say shoot more, or what are you seeing recently on your PP that you don't like?
Yeah, I'd like to shoot more. You want to come in the meeting with them? I'll let them know that. Yeah. No, we haven't established enough shots. We're trying too many times. We want to make a really, really nice goal instead of just a goal. So that's and when you get high skilled players out there, that's what happens. But I agree with you on the shot volume isn't what it needs to be. So that's something that we'll continue to address. Thanks, guys.